Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? All right, Todd McShay has put out his first mock draft of the 2022 draft. And one thing is expected therein, and that's that Derek Stingley is at or near the top of the draft. McShay projects Stingley as the fourth overall pick. Unfortunately, he projects Derek Stingley, though, as the fourth overall pick to the New York Jets. So, well, yes, you would be in New York, and you'd be in the largest media market in the world, and all that, you would be with the Jets. The write-up from McShay, the Jets offense with their first four picks in 2021, went offense with their first four picks in 2021. It's time to address the defense. This season, they're allowing a league-high 8.3 yards per pass and have just 4 interceptions and are one of 3 teams allowing 70% completions. Stingley's production dipped a bit after a 6-interception freshman year at LSU. He's been out because of a left foot injury, but he can absolutely be a kind of shutdown corner New York clearly has to find. So for everyone who wondered about Derek Stingley, the opt-out and all, would it affect his draft status? The answer is no, it will not. It has not. It just will not. I mean, when you're that type of transcendent player, you're going to be exactly what you should be. Stingley is the only LSU player in the first round that probably isn't a surprise. If there's one person who I think may have an opportunity to jump into that conversation, it would be Damone Clark if he has a really good Senior Bowl. If he shows out in the combine and plays exceptionally well, you could see Damone Clark jump up into round 1. As it is, I think he's a day 2 guy now, but boy, it'd be fantastic if a team fell in love with him and pulled the trigger late in round 1. The most interesting part of the draft, this mock draft from Todd McShay, and we're going to have to see how this evolves between now and the draft, is the quarterback situation, though. This is a weak quarterback draft class. There's no way around that. At the beginning of this season, the names that we were talking about were Spencer Rattler and Sam Howell. Like, Rattler got benched. Sam Howell had a meh year. There really aren't many guys that are the one. There isn't the Joe Burrow, the Trevor Lawrence, the no doubt top of the draft guy that teams are maneuvering to go take who they feel could be their generational franchise quarterback. That guy isn't in this draft. It's not to say someone won't pop. Remember, nobody was aching to get Lamar Jackson at the top of the draft the year he came out. He went at the end of round 1 and became an MVP at a 15-1 season. We don't need the conversation about longevity or what he'll be. I mean, you can have that conversation, but the man's already won an MVP. It's not debatable. A lot of teams swung and missed on Lamar Jackson. So maybe there's a guy in this draft that will be that maybe, but there isn't the very obvious choice at the top, which is why where McShay has the Saints going at 19, by the way, so right where you'd expect, where the Saints were in that purgatory, that 7-9, 8-8 purgatory, where they're missing the playoffs, not good enough to be at the top, into the playoffs, not bad enough to be at the top of the draft. But the McShay does have the Saints going quarterback. And with the 19th pick, McShay has the Saints going with Desmond Ridder, the quarterback out of Cincinnati. The write-up, the opinions on Ridder have been all over the place. Some scouts wonder if he's the best quarterback in the whole class. Others think he's more of a second-rounder. But Ridder would be in a perfect spot in New Orleans, he writes, able to work with Sean Payton, develop his mechanics, ball placement, consistency. The Saints don't necessarily have to go quarterback. They have Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston, he notes. But Ridder would give them a guy to build around for the future, strong arm, constant threat to tuck and run. Alternatively, Ohio State wide receiver Garrett Wilson or Auburn cornerback Roger McCreary would instantly boost lacking units. I want to be abundantly clear here. The idea of taking a quarterback mid-late round 1 as a stash and build project, I have no interest in that whatsoever for New Orleans. None. I trust Sean Payton's evaluation. To be very clear, in 2017, Sean Payton was prepared to take Patrick Mahomes. Y'all, there isn't a great lineage of success of Texas Tech quarterbacks in that offense going to the NFL and having success, right? We saw Patrick Mahomes in that Texas Bowl against LSU in 2015. There weren't a lot of people super high on Patrick Mahomes. Mitchell Trubisky went higher than Patrick Mahomes, okay? Sean Payton loved Mahomes and was prepared to take him 11th overall. Kansas City jumped ahead of the Saints a spot, drafted Mahomes, and LSU, of course, the Saints, of course, end up taking Marshawn Lattimore. That's worked out okay, but Mahomes is Mahomes. If Sean Payton looks at Desmond Ridder and goes through this whole evaluation and says, that's my guy, cool. I trust Sean Payton, that he knows what he's looking at with quarterbacks. But if the idea is draft a quarterback to stash him and then let him develop eventually, I ain't about that. You have too much talent, frontline talent on this roster to go that route. If you were going to go that route, then there was no reason to pay Kamara and Mike Thomas and Lattimore and Ramchick. I mean, you know the list by now. You don't pay all of those guys the outlandish contracts you have if you're not trying to win now. The Saints' issue has been depth, as we've seen. You'd have loved to have Emmanuel Sanders back. You didn't, so Mike Thomas is hurt, and you're stuck with Marquez Callaway as your number one, or Deontay Harris. Really good players as a 3 or a 4, not a number 1 in the NFL. I think you all understand the point. We've had that conversation enough by now. If the Saints are going to commit a year to Jameis or go in free agency and try to snag Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or trade to try to move Deshaun Watson in, if they end up doing that and they still have a first-round pick, you have to go receiver. And based on McShay's mock draft, he still has the Ohio State kids on the board. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, still got Tre'Quan Burks of Arkansas, Jahan Dotson from Penn State. There's some legit receiving talent in this draft class. And yes, Sean Payton has done that before. They took Brandon Cooks with a first-round pick. They took Robert Meacham with a first-round pick. He will use a first-round pick on a dynamic weapon if he thinks it's there. And if you get Mike Thomas back healthy, and then you have a healthy Alvin Kamara, and you have a healthy offensive line, and you bring Jameis Winston back, or whoever will be a quarterback, and then you add to it one of those guys at receiver, now all of a sudden that's a dynamic offense that complements one of the best defenses in the NFL when they're healthy and right. So if Sean Payton thinks Desmond Ridder is a franchise quarterback ready to start now, okay, I trust Sean Payton. But if the idea is stash him and let him develop, I'm not about it. And I know Patrick Mahomes got a year to sit and watch. I know. And there's plenty of instances where that served young quarterbacks well. I know. Not interested in that with this team. Not the way it's built. If you were drafting at the top of round 1 and you needed to stash somebody because your roster wasn't good enough to compete, okay. This roster, when healthy, is good enough to compete. Add a piece that can help you win now. I think that's going to be the Saints' approach this offseason. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.